Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Starr and I'm a Light Renegade. I honestly don't know where to begin, everyone. I've been trying to rack my brains around how best to bring all of this information forward, and for one, there's just too much of it. This is going to have to be an ongoing series because I'm still doing a lot of research behind the scenes and I'm still having to understand a lot myself, but I'm going to try and share where I find myself right now, what has been happening of late, and to bring you all up to date with my findings in connection to the darkness. But I wanted to open up this space and, put us in a little portal of energy for any words that are spoken in connection to darkness, any deities of darkness or connection to Lucifer or Satan, things that I'm saying, things that people might, think about watching this video, or the names spoken after watching this video. Do not allow them to be connected to anything of darkness or pure evil intent. These are not declarations of adoration or binding us to any such darkness. So just to make you all feel a little bit safer entering into this space, and please do proceed with caution. Please do be cleansing your body, cleansing your space, and cleansing your energetic vessel is what I want to share. And I think there is a lot of beings that do not want me to share this information. I was feeling absolutely fine today, but then just before sitting down to do this video, I started to feel really nauseous. I was having a headache, I couldn't see properly, and I thought, okay, I'm really hitting jackpot here, like I knew that I was, because a lot of beings do not want me to have this information out there, because I think it's actually going to help a lot of you. But to bring you up to date, so for the past couple of weeks, I've been waking up at 3:33, which is technically the witching hour. And, I kept thinking, why is this happening? And I go through the whole, the usual, is this just me? Am I just overthinking it? And then I was reminded of a situation last night, and I'm so glad that I am, because I can bring this forward to you and it will make things a little bit make more sense to you, I think, with regards to my story and how, things have always cropped up in my life. So many years ago, I was with an ex of mine and we were going to a bookstore, and I had in my mind that I wanted to find a book that was connected to witches, and particularly maybe an Anne Rice book as well, because I've always loved Anne Rice and I've always read her stories. So we go to said book store, and I walk down the aisle, and the first book that I put my hand on, that I pull out, is actually called The Witching Hour by Anne Rice, which is a book about witches. And my ex was absolutely floored by this. He was like, how do you do that? Like, I don't understand. And I was just saying, like, I don't know, and I would just brush these things off like they were nothing. And my whole entire life, things like this have happened, and there's always just been divine synchronicity. There's always been something that, if I speak it, it happens. If I think it enough, it happens. If I, imagine it enough in my mind's eye, it would happen. And, I would just consider this to be normal. And I'm sure a lot of you out there have experienced this as well. So I was waking up at the witching hour, to cut back to today's story. So I was waking up at the witching hour, and all of last week I was doing back-to-back cacao ceremonies with myself. Shout out to Sacred Spaces and Holly for introducing me to that divine medicine. So I was drinking mother cacao and just feeling like I was doing a lot of purging, a lot of cleansing, and time and time again I'm brought to a space of just, I didn't think there was anything more to come out. I didn't think there were any more tears left to cry. I didn't think there was anything left to come out of me. But there always is. And I thought, okay, something's happening. I'm gearing up for something, but I just didn't know what. And at the same time of this, I've been reintroduced to someone that I knew a really long time ago, and I would like to consider this person a friend. I'm going to have to consider them an alias name, because I don't want their privacy to be infiltrated. But this person and I have reconnected, and they actually had a reading with me, and I think it became very apparent to both of us that there were perhaps information that we could share to help each other on our journey. And to my surprise, this person very quickly made it aware to me that they, worship things of the dark, worship things of darkness. They worship Lucifer as opposed to God. And this completely floored me. I was like, okay, one, I go into those sorts of things with the most amount of apprehension, considering the spaces that I've been in. And I was trying to think when the darkness has fully made itself aware to me. And I think it was when Jeffrey Epstein started to come in. I was channeling Jeffrey Epstein, so you can go back and to the beginning of that playlist, and you can start watching that if you feel called to. But I think it was within that channeling that darkness started to make itself aware to me, and that's when I was taken into the absolute most amount of, I don't even know, entering hell's gates situations that I could possibly in. And so entering this person, we decided to meet up, and I had a lot of apprehension about this. At the same time, having back and forth conversation with this person, I felt nothing but love and reverence for them, and very much a soul's connection with them as well. So I was apprehensive, but at the same time I felt like this was a missing piece to the puzzle, because behind the scenes I've been sent to be looking into a lot of the occult, a lot of the darker aspects of celebrity life, celebrity living. And I don't know why I find myself here and channeling Jeffrey Epstein and Diana and Brittany Murphy as well at the moment, but that's been my realm. That's where I've been guided to on my journey, and I've had a very violent awakening, I think I would like to share. And when I first started to awaken, I felt like I was having a mental breakdown. I felt like I was going through some sort of illness. I felt like my entire being was just snapping into, and I found myself like crying, screaming, on the floor, couldn't move. All my bones in my body felt like they were breaking, and it was just the most craziness that was happening to me, and I couldn't explain it. And lo and behold, I do a little bit more research as my time went on, and I realized I was going through some sort of spiritual awakening. But at the same time of all of this, I've been constantly made aware of mental health, of, where the parameters of mental health finish and spirituality, become into play, and where those lines are blurred. So I would ask everyone, that is going through anything at the moment, to please seek out medical guidance, and then look to spirituality first, so that you can that you've done everything to make sure that your mental well-being is intact, and that you can go into something in the spiritual mindset, knowing that you've covered all bases, and that you are looking out for your mental health and your physical vessel. Everyone is also something I'd like to share. So end up meeting this person, and I have the most profound conversations I've ever had in my life. And no surprise to me, mine and this person's brain work very, very similarly. We're very bouncing off the walls a lot, and we just very much clicked from the get-go, and I was very grateful for them. And they gave me a lot of insight into darkness and some questions that I had, and also the lighter aspects of darkness. I felt nothing but love from this person, and very soon into us speaking, we made a pact of trust. So we set those boundaries with each other very early on, and that was something that I think that I've always been needing and wanting and craving, is boundaries with people, and a safe space to speak and to be heard, and to give that back. And I felt nothing but love from this person, and I'm so grateful that they've showed up on my path. And there is a lot that I can learn from this person, and I very much felt like I'm having to integrate my darkness, and they're having to integrate a little bit more light into their practices. And there's an overlap that is happening, and I know that we come from the same space. So I met up with this person, and very soon after that, I felt like I was going through a new layer of awakening. This weekend, I was very much in what felt like a real amount of chaotic energy, and I'm house sitting at the moment. And what I hadn't realized before was that this house is a family members of mine, and I've never noticed this before until this weekend. They've lived in this house for a really long time, and I'm really close with them, so I used to stay over a lot from being a small child to now. But their house actually faces onto a church, and I'd never done this in their house before, but I was shutting all the doors behind me, any door behind me, and sealing it up with, just spoken word. I was sealing all the doors behind me, and, making sure that their bedroom door was shut at night. And there was nothing in me that was going to make me cross that threshold. I thought, there is something happening in there. It's not connected to me. I don't need to know what's going on, but I will just never open this door when it's nighttime. And I felt very much, in full authority of that. And I was shutting all doors behind me, and I thought, why is this happening? What is happening? And then I started to see darker energies, darker entities, and that was when every inch of my being was terrified. I was just like, what is happening? And before this, prior to this, maybe about 2 months, it's been about 2 months that I've been seeing more galactic beings in my peripheral, and this idea that I'm being geared up to see galactics in the 3D. This is something that my guides have been sharing with me, so I've been seeing a lot of galactic energy, but now this was turning into darker energies, darker entities, and me just saying out to the ether, like, I don't know what is happening. And I've said this before, if you're going to be here, be here. I don't want to stand in fear in anything that approaches me. And I was really trying to hold steadfast in that, but also seeing these things causes a lot of fear. It causes a lot of anxiety. And I was reminded of being a child, and that I used to see darker entities all of the time. And, bless my parents and my family, they just think that, you're making these things up and it's just your imagination. But I would see them and I would sense them, to the point where I was terrified to even come out of the covers for a really long time. I would sleep completely under the covers, to the point where my mother used to say she was terrified I might die in my sleep, because I would do this in peak summer. You know, I would have the duvet over my head, refuse to sleep with a lighter blanket because I just didn't feel safe. And she'd have to come in and peel the covers off me because I was just dripping with sweat. She was like, I genuinely thought that one day I might come in and you might be dead. But I digress. So I was seeing a lot of darker energies, darker entities, and at the same time I found myself, you know, on my knees and coming to a different space. I felt like I was bowing down to something, but I didn't know what it was. And then lo and behold, you know, Lucifer came in for a conversation. And I've had conversations with Lucifer in the past. I've been in spaces recently where Lucifer has been on one side and Archangel Metatron on the other. And I've been rewriting contracts with people in a space of, you know, with others being their witness to this, and, you know, in my private spaces fighting this darkness. So I've also been in a lot of spaces where I've been finding Lucifer in many different aspects, and, you know, telling him that I will always find him and I will always kill him and he will never win against me. And, you know, Lucifer came in to say that that was my initiation into, you know, his energy, into his realm, and making sure that I was ready. And there's been other situations that have happened, and, you know, there's other videos that are connected to karmic ties and dark energies that you can find in my other playlists on this channel that might make all of this make a little bit more sense to you. But for those that are up to date, you know that I've been in spaces retrieving souls and pulling my own energy back from dark spaces too. And in the most recent of times, I've been led to people where I felt like there was a lot of darkness in their life. And, you know, behind the scenes, I've been doing a lot of energy work for these people. And, you know, these people aren't necessarily connected to the spiritual realms, but I've, you know, spoken with them, and I can hear that they are having experiences, you know, connecting to galactic realms, connecting to spirits of souls, but they're not necessarily, you know, that's not the forefront of their mind. That is not how they are living their lives right now. And, you know, I'm tentatively doing all the work behind the scenes, but also bringing things forward for them to awaken a little bit, you know, in their space, and for them to understand, you know, where they might be in their journey and where they're having to take their own power back. And, you know, I've been put into a space now where I feel like I've been surrounded by a lot of demi-demons in my life, is what I want to share. And I found myself in a lot of situations and compromising situations with people that, you know, why I'm coming face to face with this darkness, but I didn't know that that's what it was at the time. But now looking back, I'm like, oh, I understand it now. I was facing this darkness and I was having to pull my own energy back and to find strength in retaining my own sovereignty in those situations. And Lucifer confirmed this for me this weekend. And we had it was a real long conversation. I actually had this conversation in the bath as well, which I think is really important to share. So, you know, I am naked at this point, speaking with Lucifer, and, you know, having to manage all energies that come up within that scenario. And, you know, feeling like there was a layer of, it's not intimidation, but there was a layer of, Lucifer feels like the ex-boyfriend you shouldn't go back to, is what I want to say. That's how his energy feels, and it's overwhelming. It's an overwhelming feeling, and there's a lot of heart opening that goes in with that as well. And I realized that all of my heart opening for the past 2 weeks was allowing me to open up to this darkness and be fully heart open to this darkness. And, you know, which leads me to say, if you are afraid of anything of the dark, then the darkness has already won. And, you know, Lucifer was explaining, you know, exactly what his position is here, as was his other person that worships, you know, I don't want to say necessarily worships, but prays to Lucifer. They pray to Lucifer, and they were explaining, you know, he is just a mirror for the darkness in others. And, you know, at some point in my life, many times this lifetime, I have pledged allegiance to Lucifer, to the dark forces, because I was in so much pain. And this story mirrored this other person, you know, that does look up to Lucifer as their god. And, you know, I think there was a certain point in my life, you know, some of you will know by now, I'm not Catholic. I didn't do confirmation or any of those things, but I went to Catholic primary school and secondary school. But I think at some point in my journey, I just felt in the most amount of pain and suffering. And I thought, if God is real, then, you know, I wouldn't be suffering this much. And I'm sure that we've all gotten to that point in their journey. But, you know, I liked alternative music. I was always surrounded by, you know, things that made me want to turn to these darker aspects, I want to say, and there's a whole other timeline that goes along with that. So at some point in my life, I know that I have spoken the words, Lucifer, come and help me, and I've definitely said that, and I've definitely pledged allegiance to him, and he confirmed this as well. So Lucifer came in to sort of say, he isn't my guide, and my galactic guides have confirmed this as well. He is not a guide to me this lifetime, but he works for me. And, it's very much a transactional exchange. He said a lot of things, that doesn't surprise me. A lot of things that were incredibly flattering. And at the same time, he knows that I see through the BS of all of that. And, I had to make sure that I would never be in a space to be compromised by him, because there was always that free will. There was always that element of all of this when tapping into darker energies. And this is what this other person that does work within these dark arts was explaining, is that you have to go into everything with the most amount of respect for what you are engaging with, and also understanding that if you are practicing black magic, that magic comes back to you too. And I think this is something that I had a grasp of, but just not fully in the understanding. And this person very much works for the light. I can say that this person very much works for the light. They have done a lot for many people in their community and helped a lot of souls, and in particular a lot of feminine souls, which was a complete surprise to me, but it makes the most amount of sense to me. And yeah, I'm going to come full circle with that. So I've spent a lot of time this weekend speaking with Lucifer, and him explaining to me that somewhere I was forged by darkness, and that had to be this way so I could be here right now living this lifetime. And this has been my soul's plan for a real long time, and I've lived many dark lives, is what I want to share. And when I was younger, when I was really young, too young, I thought that I was evil. Something in me thought that I was evil. And, I would say it, and I would be really terrified to admit some things that my mind went to when I was quite young. And specifically when I was waking up to being a teenager. And, I think a lot of people put it down to going through, all those hormonal changes. And I think a lot of that is that too. But there was just something in me where I thought, I'm not like other people and I'm evil. There was something inside of me that I just felt like I must be evil, because the things that I think aren't normal. And, I would see flashing images of quite disturbing things, and I would have really disturbing thoughts, and I wouldn't know why that was happening. And, speaking to Lucifer this weekend, he explains to me that, and this is something that all of us Light Renegades have been told, that through this lifetime, we agreed to have, amount of darkness inside of us, so we were sitting in this darker energy, and we were having to break free from that this lifetime so that we can help raise the consciousness of the planet and bring us all into alignment with the light. So I've been working through a lot of this darkness. So a lot of things that I've gone through in my life have been pretty dark, have been pretty harrowing, have been pretty, not on the nicer side of life, I would like to share. And, I've gone through spaces of substance abuse, of abusing my body, of abusing, I don't know what else to share, my sexuality in some ways, and, using my body as a weapon rather than a vehicle for, for healing and in reverence of, honoring myself is what I want to say. So Lucifer was explaining that, I had gone through all of these things because I was sitting in such darkness, and there was just something I couldn't understand this whole time in my life. I felt like I was in a fishbowl, and I felt like everyone else was enjoying life, was doing life, and I just didn't get it. I felt like I couldn't touch happiness for a really long time of my life. I felt like I couldn't touch that point of happiness that other people could touch. And so this is where substances came into my life, and I started to reach that point of happiness using those substances. And that's why for a really long time I stayed in that cycle, because this was helping me reach those spaces that I felt like everyone else could reach, just on their own. And now I'm not condoning that aspect of life whatsoever, but that has been part of my journey, and I know that that was something that I was supposed to go through. And now I'm coming full circle in that I'm seeing where the darkness has a grasp over that too. And, substance abuse and keep being stuck in that cycle, I see as a connection to the darkness somewhere. And this is playing out in things that I'm seeing in my environment around me, and, observing a lot of people and how they are living right now. And I'm not casting judgment upon anyone. You know, I have been there in that cycle, but I had to break that cycle in order to move forward. And, you know, now I've come full circle and I'm integrating these layers and these darker aspects into my reality because it is me. I was forged by darkness somewhere, and, you know, I'm having to understand where my soul originates from. And that's why I've stopped saying, you know, I'm a Pleiadian, because Lucifer was confirming to me something that I've known for a really long time, but I've been pulling away from my Pleiadian guys for quite a while. And, you know, that was to do with trust. That was to do with a few things that have happened in this journey when I just felt like I'm not supposed to be there. And other guys have been coming in. I've been connecting with elementals, all sorts of deities and, you know, beings of light at this time. And I felt like I was turning my back on the Pleiades aspect of me, and I was guided to do that. And they were saying, you know, you're supposed to be stepping away from that because there is so much more for you to experience. And Lucifer confirmed that. And he was just saying, you know, you have been a lot of things. You have lived many, many lives. Your soul is incredibly old. And there is so much more to all of this than, you know, I've been made aware of right now. And I'm, 3 years into my journey, maybe 4 now, 4 years into my journey. And I still feel like I've barely scratched the surface of anything. And I've been working backwards, I've realized, everyone. And so everyone else's journey seems to be that, you know, they get information, they move forward, but I was just catapulted into all of this movement forward. And now I'm starting to go back to where are my origins? Where did I come from? What are my soul's, you know, aspects, and pulling all of those aspects back into myself. So this weekend was a massive soul retrieval for me, but also absolutely terrifying at the same time. And, you know, I've been having to get good with my darkness and understand that, you know, as much as I'm light, I am darkness. And at some point of my journey, I see my physical vessel in its energetic form. So when I do energy work on myself, it's like I see myself, you know, in crystalline energy, and different aspects and crystals are placed in my body, and artifacts and all sorts of things live in this vessel. And my heart completely turned into gold at one stage. And it wasn't until last night that I could feel this layer of darkness around it. And I've pulled a lot of negative energy out of me, and a lot of darker energy, thick energy out of me. And I did a curse reversal spell on my family's name really early on in my journey, and I was pulling so much darkness out of them. And I thought, okay, I've been bound by darkness, you know, left, right and center, and this has been something that's been my path to help my, you know, family lineage move forward to breaking free of this darkness. But now I'm having to integrate it, and this is an aspect that we are all going to have to go through. So those of you that might be just completely in the light right now, this might feel chaotic to you. You might not even want to resonate with my energy anymore. And I promise you, at some point, you will tip that scale and you will start to understand. Not that long ago, I was completely rejecting all darkness too. Do not forget, everyone. And I had to go to that. I had to make sure that I was strong enough in my power to walk away of anything of temptation, of anything that was going to lead me off my path, and also to not fear the darkness. You know, I was going into spaces and fighting Lucifer. I was going into spaces where, you know, I met Satan once. It's been confirmed to me. And I spoke about a space where I could see myself walking through a cave, and it was just completely drenched in blood. And, you know, I heard a voice, and I could feel the energy of something. And I just said, there is nothing you can take from me. There is nothing I want from you. There is nothing you can take from me. You can try and kill me, but I know where my soul goes. You cannot have me. And that was Satan I was speaking to. And, you know, I've been made aware by this person that worships, you know, Lucifer, that, you know, Satan is not something to be messed with. It's not something you even want to be engaging with. It is chaotic. However, Lucifer peddles the light and the dark aspects in equal measure. And, you know, there has been a lot of situations that Lucifer was explaining that, you know, has been blamed on him, but that's actually been the reptilian order. And this is more integration and more understanding I'm going to have to integrate at a later date. But on the peripheral right now, Lucifer was just saying, I'm having to integrate these darker aspects of me because it is me. And, you know, when I was doing my energy work last night, I was like, oh, where's this new layer of darkness come from? It was my heart's gold, but then there's a layer of darkness around it. And I was asking if I was supposed to be clearing that. And they said, you can't. I can't clear this layer of darkness in my heart. And they said, tune into my heart space. And, you know, I didn't feel the weight of that darkness. Usually when I feel darker energy, it's weighing down, you know, it makes me feel not empowered. But actually having this layer of darkness, my heart felt completely open and safe. And I've realized that Lucifer is a layer of protection, and a layer of protection that I was missing in these circles. And, you know, I've been reintegrated into his energy. And, you know, he says, I'm here to help you. I'm here to protect you. And that is his purpose with me this lifetime. He is here to help protect me in spaces where I'm having to go delve into the darkness, where I'm having to face these darker aspects, and where, you know, going into the future, I know that I'm going to be, attacked by darker energies, because they are not going to want me to be pulling people back from these spaces and awakening them up into their own sovereignty. Which leads me on to say to something that, if you are out here pledging allegiance to anything, you should be pledging allegiance to yourself, your own sovereignty. And this is what I will continue to reiterate. And there's a lot of darker forces out there that do not want people to be in their power. And, I think there is a lot of people aligning with darker aspects of self and not doing it in respect, not knowing what they are doing, not knowing exactly what they believe in, and actually in a little bit of fear somewhere too. And that's when the darkness is won. I believe Lucifer exists. I believe there are beings of dark that are of light, but I also believe that there are beings of darkness with pure, cruel intentions. And those are the beings that attach themselves to people and keep you stuck. Those are the things that were attaching themselves to me, to my darkness that I was working through, and keeping me stuck. They did not want me to break free because they knew of my power, they knew of my strength. And I think this is many of you, some of you that might be watching, but also many of you that might watch this in the future, you will understand that there has been a layer of darkness that's been attaching itself to you because you are not aware of your energetic body. And this is something that I had to work through this lifetime. I wasn't aware of my energetic body, and I was just a sponge for other people's energy, and specifically darkness, because I had this layer of darkness inside of me. So I've been seeking out demons. I've been seeking out unfavorable situations, getting myself into all sorts of trouble because I wasn't aware that these little beings were pushing me. Just always had that little voice in my ear for the longest time pushing me. And something that I'm going to bring forward that I don't know if it's going to, I don't know, it might not be received well, but I suffered with eating disorders a lot in my life. And when I went to therapy, we decided to give, this being, I would call it a being because it felt outside of myself. I would say this voice doesn't feel like mine. And, I associated this being, this feeling with the Grim Reaper. And now I look back on that, I realize that, those voices we have in our head, there was a voice that's ours, a voice that sounds like our consciousness, a voice that sounds like us. And then there's those other voices. And I believe those other voices are different entities, different energies attaching themselves to you and just harping on those negative aspects to keep you stuck. And, I believe that dark and light has to exist. That's just the laws of the universe. But I think there is a thin layer of darkness that you can step away from and be straddling light and dark and be in the light. And also, something that I didn't think I'd ever find myself saying is that, you can worship the darkness and be of light. I witnessed it in this person. And had this person hadn't come along, and if I hadn't sat in their energy, if I hadn't, gone in with my teams and completely picked apart every single part of them energetically and thought, there is nothing of pure ill intent in this person anywhere, I would pick it up. I'm at the stage now where I see darkness, I can see it in people's eyes, I can feel it in their energy. I'm just told to step away from certain people. I'm told to, not even engage in certain spaces because I just feel like there is things there that I don't need to be messing with. And there is nothing but light coming from this person. So for those that are wanting to, and for those that align, with Lucifer already, you can stay in the darkness and still be in the light. I'm not saying you have to start worshipping a God that you don't believe in, but you have to start energetically looking after yourself and doing your practices with respect. Because as soon as you have a layer of disrespect for this darkness, that's when other entities have won. And that's also when Satan steps in. And, he is chaos. He is the one that you should be aware of, should be wary of. And, you have to do everything that you do with reverence and with the utmost amount of respect. And I do that even with my, teams of light. And I work with Kali a lot. And, she doesn't let me look her in the eyes sometimes. And I respect that. Sometimes she just bows my head and I respect her in that space. And, I am very much out here saying that I'm a spiritual person. Because I have worked with a lot of deities in my path, and I wasn't ever sure exactly what I believed in, but I believed in something. But at a certain point of my journey, I was in such pain, I thought God doesn't exist. And, I'm still yet to understand exactly where God enters everything. And I'm doing a lot of research behind the scenes in terms of the angels and where they all come from and where other darker entities might have come from too, to help me understand where I am in my journey and where I might have come from as well, everyone. But I'm just going to double check my notes and see if there is anything that I've missed. So yeah, also whilst I was in this space this weekend, Anna Maria and myself were very much in the same space, and there was a lot of synchronicities happening around us at the same time, and I was very much guided to watch some television this weekend, and in particular Black Mirror, and I was seeing how much darkness was being fed through the television, through aspects of the latest series. And I think the final episode is actually called Demons, and in this episode a woman finds like an amulet of some sorts, and this amulet starts speaking to her, and she starts to say that she lets this demon in. And I think by watching that show, somewhere people have agreed to let something enter into their life, and I think this is happening over and over and over again in so many spaces, in music, in television, in movies. I think these darker layers and darker aspects of life are being perpetuated by the higher ups, by those that have been taken over, by what I consider to be, the reptilian order, by darker essences out there of ill intent. And I'm not sure where those two energies align right now, everyone. I'm very much in the angelic kingdom, but the galactic kingdom feels very separate to that right now. And I think there's going to come a space where I understand where they align, but they don't right now. All I have from Lucifer is that he's been blamed for a lot that the reptilians have done. And that's where I find myself straddling this too. But I'm kind of turning away from the galactic to look at this angelic kingdom right now, everyone. And it's starting to make everything feel a little bit more clearer to me, where I am in my journey, what I've been having to work through. And, I've had to very much keep standing and stepping forward towards the light, because it feels very self-indulgent to sit in the darkness. And there was a layer of this darkness that just felt like a weighted blanket, but in the most comforting way. And when this darkness started to come through, it was so familiar that I didn't know what I was stepping into. And, because I'd lived with this darkness in me for a real long time, the light was blinding to me. It hurt to go through my spiritual awakening, because there was so much darkness I was having to, it was like it was ripping me open from the inside out. And, at some point I think I shared that I grew black wings again, and that was real painful. So that to me is just an understanding of, how far forward I stepped into the light, and I had to reintegrate this layer of darkness again and receive my black wings. And, I already had my angelic white wings. I received those a while ago, but these new layer of black wings came in, and I was introduced to a layer of a darker council, which Brittany Murphy confirmed in the video yesterday that, the light and the dark very much work in tandem with each other on souls on a specific path. And I think that I am here to help those souls that have been in the darker aspects of life, that have been walking the path of the darkness, and they are needing to step a little bit more into the light. And, however much more into that light that is, will be yet to be confirmed on your journey. But I think the reason why I'm here has taken a very different turn to what I thought was my reasoning for being here, everyone. And yeah, I hope this makes some sense. And I was brought to a space with another friend of mine actually this weekend, who messaged me out of the blue when I was in the midst of all of this crazy energy. It was the hour and me and Anna Maria were sending voice notes to each other and just unraveling and, putting pieces of the puzzle together from all different aspects. And we had other beings of, that I would consider to be really, really powerful, sending in other bits of information that they'd found out this weekend. And it was all aligning up to make some sort of fabric of understanding that we are now coming into. And I had a friend, and she said to me, beware of the tall looking man. And I said to her, where did that come from? She's like, I don't know. I'm just seeing someone submerged in the water. And I said, it's really funny that you mentioned that, because I've been setting the most amount of chaotic energy, and, I'm shutting all the doors behind me. And she said, absolutely, me too. And I feel like I can't go without having a candle light lit somewhere. And I said, absolutely the same. I was like, I don't want to turn any of the lights off. And I've had a candle on, a white candle next to me this whole time. And, every day I'm blown away by the synchronicities, but there are those moments that anchor me back in to let me know, I'm not just having a mental breakdown. There are other people that are engaging in these spaces with me that are experiencing the same thing. So for those that are, not sure where you find yourself, look out for those marker points. Are there other people experiencing something similar around you? Are there those that you can reach out to speak about this? Do you need to go and see a therapist? Do you already have a therapist? Is this something that you can share in those spaces? And are you being called to anchor yourself into the light more? So making sure you are cleansing your spaces, making sure, you are lighting that candle when you feel it, or, getting out in nature. I always feel the most held in nature. When I'm feeling chaotic in energy, when I'm feeling any dark energy, I will go out in nature and I just feel completely reborn, completely renewed. And I think something else I would like to enter into this space with is that, this person that I met, they very much see Gaia as their everything. Mother Gaia herself, they see her as the feminine energy that, lives beyond everything else. And for those that might be, practicing the dark arts right now, or connecting with Lucifer and feeling like, maybe you don't know what you're doing, or you've said some things that you're not sure that you wish that you have said, go out in nature and ask for her forgiveness. Make offerings to the ground, with her, speaking to her. And when I said offerings, I'm not talking about blood sacrifice. That's another thing, sorry, that I wanted to bring forward, and something that I realize is a loophole. So if you are being asked to sacrifice anything for any other being, that being considers you to be lesser than them. No point in this journey have I been asked to sacrifice anything other than, my utmost amount of surrender in this journey. I've never been asked to sacrifice, any form of animal, any form of blood ritual, although sometimes I do make offerings to the ground, with my menstrual cycle, to Mother Gaia for healing. So for those that, maybe feminines out there, go and offer your blood in that way. If that's something that you're feeling reverence to, offer that in that way to Mother Gaia. We shouldn't be out here killing anything. And if anything is telling you to end another being's life in any which way, a fly, a spider, anything, then this being considers you to be lesser than them, because you're having to offer something over to them. And this is where I'm seeing a lot of the celebrities, we're hearing a lot of this, the occult, and, making blood offerings to different energies, to different deities. And I think I'm coming to the understanding where some things have gone awry, and some spaces, some places, some doctrines, some teachings, particularly that of Aleister Crowley, have gone completely off the charts, off the scale. And a lot of beings out there, a lot of celebrities out there are worshipping Aleister Crowley, who I believe was connecting to something that he had no idea what it was, and I don't believe this was an energy that was connecting him to Lucifer at all. And I've had confirmation from Lucifer. So my mind has been completely blown this weekend, everyone. And I hope this video has made some sense. I'm still in the midst of a lot of research and having to understand where my origins are, and where the origins of light and dark and all these angels come from. I don't have a lot of this historical knowledge, so I'm having to go back and research and corroborate my theories, some theories that I still have, some theories that I haven't shared yet, but I feel like I'm on the right track, and this is where I'm supposed to be. So I'm very much walking in the dark and the light at this time, everyone, and this will continue to be my truth. And I feel like I have stepped into a new layer of power, and I think for this whole journey, I've been feeling like there was something that was missing. I've been terrified to unleash what felt like a wild woman, and this idea of this feminine rising, and it feeling, an energy that isn't prim and proper, an energy that is disheveled, an energy that is, running wild. Like, I've been growling a lot. This wolf energy is coming out of me. And some of you might know, my son Neo, who was in the Pleiades when I was introduced to him, he came through as a wolf spirit to me really early on in my journey. I didn't know it was him at the time, but my first two energetic guides were a wolf spirit and a bear spirit, who are my two Pleiadian guides, my son and his guardian. And this wolf spirit lives within me. I very much connect to that energy still. And this idea of being a wild woman, I've never been one to walk the straight and narrow. I've always been a very respectful, a completely overly loving person, a people pleaser to a fault of mine. And I've never been out here trying to harm people, but I've never walked the path of the straight and narrow, or what we consider to be the norm, I would like to share. And this is actually something too that I've experienced. I've had to confess, all the things that I've done, and much to the dismay of my mother. I was living a double life for a really long time. I had my home life, I had my family life, and then I was out here, partying all the time, taking all the substances, doing all the drinking, and none of my family knew this, and I confessed this to them when I returned home. And I think that they were absolutely shocked, but at the same time, I think they were just happy that I'm still here and still alive. But also, I felt a layer of release of that, of, confessing all my sins and having been witnessed and still accepted by that, and I think there was something in that too. There was something in me that's been terrified to bring all my full self forward. And I've always had that. I've always felt like I was too much for people, and specifically my love. I realized my love has been, my Pleiadian heart always gushing out of me. And this has made people run a mile. And, this has put me into some really confusing situations and spaces with people, because I think they've just been terrified to engage with me. And, you know, I felt a lot of that moving forward in this journey, having to, you know, bring all of this information forward. I've been working a lot on myself to feel ready to bring all of this forward and to bear my absolute soul to you all. At this point, you know, I've left no rock unturned that you know about me, about my life, and, you know, the things that I can continue to confess in these videos. And it's only going to get more and more personal from here going on in, I think, everyone. And, you know, I wish to say that my heart is completely open to you, and, you know, you don't have to like me, but I will demand respect from you, and I will respect you too. And that doesn't mean that I have to like you either, but I do demand respect, and as should you, moving forward in your life, everyone. And, you know, there is so much love here. There's so much love that I have for all of you that watch, you know, my videos and stuff. But I think this new layer of everything is me stepping forward with my darker aspects, and, you know, warts and all, with all of it, with me being disheveled, with me showing up, you know, less than favorable, with some less than favorable stories to share at times, I think, and that's necessary moving forward. So those that are, you know, walking in the path of the darkness at this time, or struggling, you know, that you can be witnessed and you can be told that it's okay and that you are safe. And at no point in my journey has any, you know, guardian of light come to me and said, you cannot have my love, you cannot be connected to me because what you've done has been too terrible. That just hasn't happened. And, you know, we have borne witness to Jeffrey Epstein, and he was absolved back into the light, everyone. And I'd like to remind you all of that. But I think that's all I need to share today. There's a lot in there. This was just an update of things, I think, everyone. I'm not sure if it makes complete sense, but I hope that somewhere you've managed to gather some, you know, insight, or there's been some things that might have piqued your interest or piqued your understanding of where you might find yourself in your journey, or things that you've gone through in the past, everyone. But yeah, I think that's all from me today, everyone. Please do take care, and yeah, please take care of me in this space too. I want to share, everyone. You know, I come here with the most amount of authenticity as I can, but I do demand respect in this space, and, you know, I want to feel like this is a safe space that I can share. So please be respectful in the comments. Please be respectful when talking to me about these things, and, you know, making sure that I am in the space to be discussing these things. If you do know me in a personal space, and, you know, you do want to reach out to me, just be mindful that, you know, things are triggering for me as much as they are for you. I want to share, everyone. But yeah, that's all from me today. Take care, and I will be back very soon.